What's up, everybody? This is Brian, the Three Topics Gamer, here to bring you another episode of my weekly Q&A show with people's questions, where I answer a number of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. This time we have a much more successful episode, and I think some people are starting to get it in terms of sending questions with depth, because this time around we got 8 questions, and I believe we might actually have maybe 1 or 2 new people, because maybe 1, because 2 of these names I don't recognize, but everybody else I think I've seen you before. So starting off real simple with the first question coming from ShadowWolf, and he wants to know, what 2 games from PlayStation 1 would I like to see remastered? Okay, so you're saying remastered, you're not saying remade, so basically just updated graphics. Well, I guess in that case, 2 PlayStation 1 games that stand out to me the most, I think would make for good remasters, is probably like Legend of Dragoon or Legacy of Kain. I mean, those 2 games kind of stick out, so I'm surprised they haven't gotten more attention. So yeah, those are the 2 games I would pick. Next question comes from Mr. Mystery, and your question is a little bit confusing, but I'll see if I can handle it, because I think this question is pretty simple if someone, not an insult to you, but if you just use common sense. But you want to know, do I think it's possible to do another God of War prequel? And my answer is no. I mean, you are aware that the very first God of War game, the very first game that came out in 2005, you are aware that that game already has 2 prequels in the form of God of War Ascension, which, I'm streaming now, and God of War Chains of Olympus. So where would you add another prequel story? And when you really think of the current direction that Santa Monica Studios is taking the God of War franchise now, there's just no place to add another God of War game, and I don't think it's necessary. I think we've explored just about every single bit of Kratos' life in the first 6 games. So, yeah, at this point, I think Santa Monica Studios is going to focus on moving the franchise forward instead of trying to go back and try to add in some information that we probably don't even need at this point. So, no, at this point in time, I do not think it is possible to do another God of War prequel. Next question comes from Zack, and you want to know, do I want another Resident Evil game with Jill Valentine, and do you want her to have PTSD after what Wesker did to her? If we ever did get Jill back, which I would love to see that, I think having her have PTSD after what Wesker did, that would have to be essential. If I remember correctly, I don't remember exactly where I read this, but I think Jill was permanently taken off of field assignments, and she was still working with the BSAA, but she is kind of more of she's at a desk job now because of her experiences. But yeah, that would be a great addition to her character. I mean, that definitely would make sense. So yeah, I think that is an incredible idea, and if they ever do bring Jill back, that is essential to have to her character. I mean, dang, that could add so many moments. I mean, just crazy moments. Now, next question comes from, I believe, perhaps the only new person here. I think there's maybe one other one, but I'm not sure. But this one, I'm absolutely positive is new. And you go by the name, and I'm going to try to say your name. Going by the name of Bowering C89, and you basically have this question of, as someone who is mainly stuck with Kingdom Hearts games and played Final Fantasies 1, 2, 10, and 15, what other Final Fantasy games would I recommend? Okay, you've only played 1, 2, 10, and 15. Well, you need to play 7. Don't, play the original 7 before the remake comes out. Play 8. And play 6. I think 6 is probably the one. If I had to pick one of those 3 the most, definitely play 6. I consider 6 to be the greatest Super Nintendo game of all time. And 7 always stands out. I mean, that's openly regarded as the most popular Final Fantasy game of all time. And 8's got its fans. I really like 8, but yeah, dang, how the heck do you miss 7 and 8 if you've played 10 at least? I mean, that's generally almost in the same golden era, but yeah. However, there is one number there that isn't there, and I hope to God you never touch that one, because you're going to have an awful experience, and hopefully no one else has to suffer like I have. Okay, next question comes from Scarpino. You want to know, what movie do I think was really good but had just enough issues to prevent it from being great? It was a good movie, but it wasn't great. Well, I think Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, I think that was a good movie, not great. A few story tweaks that could have been a really, really great story. Personally, I still think that to this day, that is the best sequel to Terminator 2. Everything else after that has just been flat-ass garbage, and I'm not even going to go see the newest one, because if what I've heard they're going to do, if it is true, then, like, just kill this franchise now. Just stop. Just stop at this point. I'm sick of it. Next question comes from Sarkis. You want to know, with rumors about the PlayStation 5 going to cost, good God, $800, what is my personal limit of how much you would pay for the next console? Okay, Ace Arcadia, I hope you're joking, because that is absolute BS. I don't know where you heard this, but just from that statement alone, that is ridiculous. Sony is not crazy enough to make the same mistake that they did with the PlayStation 3. I mean, do you guys even remember back when they announced the PlayStation 3, the infamous $599 announcement? I mean, that pretty much derailed PlayStation 3 right out of the gate, and it would take years for them to finally make up that mistake. I cannot see them doing that. $800? Are you crazy? I mean, just think of how that would sound. I mean, we're all watching it at, like, I don't know, PlayStation Experience, if they do it this year, or the next E3, and he comes on stage and says, okay, we are releasing the PlayStation 5, and it will be $799. Basically the cost of 2 PlayStation 4s. You know that infamous moment where Xbox made all those really dumb announcements about their consoles, and like the very next press conference, PlayStation did the exact same thing, but they went over everything Xbox was going to do and say, our console is not only not going to do those stupid things, our console is actually $100 cheaper. Xbox will do the exact same thing. Now, price limit wise, the most I would pay for a PlayStation 5 console is $500, but I don't think it'll do that. I think Sony is smart enough. It'll probably be $400, $450, $5 max. I think they've learned from their experiences. You don't want to push $600. So $5 is okay, $450. Maybe $4. That's where I see this going. I can't see it being any higher than that, because if it was $6, I'll wait a good year or two before I even touch the PlayStation 5. But trust me, I knowing Sony, I don't think they're that stupid. Next question comes from MFE Vic, and you want to know, do I think there is a chance that Microsoft could surpass Sony next generation in terms of system software and exclusives after being outsold with less creative endeavors? Vic, are you out of your fucking mind? No, that's never gonna happen. When has Microsoft ever eclipsed Sony in terms of software and exclusives? That's not what they're about. I mean, you can go every generation, they have been out. Hell, they've not only been outclassed by Sony, they've been outclassed by Nintendo. And all Nintendo does is repeat the same 4 or 5 franchises that they've been using for almost 20 years. And even they have a better line of exclusives. I mean, seriously, take away Halo and Gears and Microsoft would die. No one would really buy it because of its exclusive. So I do not believe for 1 second that they're gonna ever surpass Sony in terms of exclusives. That's just never gonna happen, because that's not their mentality. That is not their mentality. Anyone who knows what the Xbox was originally designed for will know that that's simply never going to happen. And with its reputation, why? I mean, sure, they can spit out as many semi-exclusive as possible, but tell me, can any of you name a prominent exclusive franchise that was ever established in this generation of Xbox? Because I can't. I mean, they've stuck with Halo and they've stuck with Gears, and that's about it. But they have not come out with a new exclusive IP since. They are going to stick with those 2 moving forward. So, no, that is ridiculous. That is never ever going to happen. I mean, Sony just retired a number of exclusives this generation. And we already know that a lot of these exclusives that were started in this generation are going to continue into the PlayStation 5, and you know those are going to be smash hits because of how well they did in this generation. Microsoft has to start from scratch, and you just can't do that when you have such massive competition in the form of Nintendo's consoles, exclusives, and Sony's. It's just not going to happen. Now, the last question of the episode comes from, I'm not sure if you're new. Something about you gives me the feeling that you're not new, but I am just not familiar with how this is said. And your name goes by the name of Phantom Joker X. Something about that seems familiar, but something about it seems new. And you will basically want to know, have I ever played a game that I thought was going to be bad but turned out to be really good? I thought about this question for a while. A game that I thought was going to be bad but it ended up being good? No. After what happened to me in 2009, I was very, very, very picky about what games I would play. I've played plenty of games that I thought were going to be good, and they ended up being not so good to bad. I've played plenty of those. But if there's a game that I think is going to be bad, I generally will not even play it. And it's been a very, very long time since someone recommended a game that I thought was bad. They say, Brian, it's a really good game, you have to try it out. And then I played it, and then I thought it was great. But if I had to pick a game that is kind of in that department, the game that comes to mind is Assassin's Creed 2, but not because it was recommended to me. I tried playing the first Assassin's Creed game and I absolutely hated the game. Like, I quit like after an hour. And then for whatever reason, the second game came out, and at first I was not all for it, but then I just thought, okay, I'll give it a try. And I loved Assassin's Creed 2, and then I, continued to be a fan after that. But I'm not sure if that really counts, because that was more out of just curiosity, because I didn't really get to play enough of Assassin's Creed 1, so yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure if that counts, but I would say that's the closest example to what you're saying. But ever since 2009, I've been very, very picky with what games I play. So with that out of the way, that ends this episode of the People's Questions, which I'm sure ended up being a lot longer than last week's episode. And make sure that if you have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me roughly around Wednesday before noon, before I start filming the next episode. And if you want to increase your chances of making sure that they end up in the next video, just make sure they have a bit more depth, and make sure you guys remember that it is one question per person. And like always, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and be sure to spread the word, and don't forget to press that subscribe button to help grow the channel. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.